Anna, you ready?
Hard, no hard at all, none. I know.
Other interest, other shoes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Don't you want?
Yeah.
Anna, we ready? City.
Well, because we said.
It's a city and a state.
State. All right.
Yeah, the capital is, and the state is also Japan.
Don't be,
Good morning, everybody. We're going to call the Monday, July 1st Design Council meeting to order now. First item on our agenda this morning is the approval of the minutes from June 3rd meeting. A motion or any discussion on the minutes?
I would move to approve the minutes.
one thing. It's just, okay, it's just little, it's just my name is twice, that's all. I was
Sorry?
there in mind and body twice. But you'll have to change, I'm just telling you, there's nothing else, that's it. It's just the first line, council president. You did that? You were really here. I was really here.
All right. Second. We have a motion by Jeff, second by Steve. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Second item on the agenda this morning is the Rockwell Branch Library expansion. Yeah. Emily?
Morning, my name is Emily Taylor. This is Allison Richardson. I'm an architect. Allison is interior designer. We're with Hutton. We're the design builder that is leading the projects at the Rockwell branch, and then also coming to will be the Alfred and the Angelo branches. Today, we're here to talk about the Rockwell branch. If anyone has not been there, it's at 9th and Edgemore. It was built in the 70s, and the general scope of this project is to expand collections areas, especially for children's and teens. At all of the branches, obviously, we're working on improvements to like building infrastructure to support technology, modernization, power needs, charging, and then obviously all of them are getting sort of an aesthetic facelift with us at the same time. Okay, so site overview. 9th Street is across the top of the screen to the north. Edgemore Park and the rec center and the splash pad are sort of left of this thing that's labeled as Dry Creek. It's kind of like the big tree area drainage way that splits the library site from the park. This path is the little pedestrian bridge that connects the two. So this shows you the general scope of what's happening on the site. The existing building is here with the diagonal hatch. The west side of the parking at this point in time is intended to remain. We're planning to replace and expand the south parking area. At this time, we are trying to expand to 83 stalls. They've got like 50 today. And we are working on some potential, if they can secure a little bit more funding, we'd really like to get to 100. So this is one of the items that might go up if we can get that sorted out. And the main improvements to the parking lot, one, it's just in bad shape and needs replaced, but also to improve some safety, just pathways, like the way that people and cars interact here, getting those more organized for safer access for pedestrians. And then on the east side of the site, we're expanding, that's the crosshatched piece here. And expanding to, that includes some of the collection information of the work area for the staff, and also the addition of a drive-through. So a couple of the branches today have drive-throughs that are really successful and well used, like the Advanced Learning Library, the Alfred branch, and then this is one of the next branches that has the highest level of use, so adding the drive-through function. So existing floor plan, just to orient you, again, this is the same as the plan we looked at before where the street is up and the parking is to the south. The main entry point is right here with the, shown with the two doors. There's a center bay here that right now is kind of sound, has cables sort of cobbled together with a bunch of cables running all over the floor where they've got their computer set up. The adults collections are off here to the left, and it does this where it's just a bunch of rows of shelves that are like 7 feet tall, super dark, and then the children's area on the right hand side is similar where they've got a little bit of open area on the south end, but then stacks that are pretty tall and not interactive like what we really see the current state of how libraries are used today. The staff work area is very small, really cramped. They have a ton of staff here just because they move a lot of materials in and out of this branch. Then they've got 2 existing restrooms with 2 fixtures apiece and a small meeting room on the south end. The view with expansion, we're still planning to keep adults sort of centralized off here to the left, but you'll see lots of smaller study rooms added, like places for people to really come and not just like pick up a book and leave, but to stay, spend some time at the library, engage with the various aspects of technology. So like in the adults area, we've got meeting rooms for 4 to 6, study rooms, it could be, 1 to 4 people. The spaces that you could reserve and use, like again, like you've seen at the advanced learning library. Expanding on the north and the east would include the children's section, so that's almost doubled. And then the teens is like one little bookshelf right now. There basically isn't a teen section. So creating a true dedicated area for teens. And again, duplicating those sort of study, hangout spaces for you to check out a laptop or bring your own technology and spend some time there. Opening up the front desk, so it's still kind of in the same location, but just improved relationship to like the fixed computing stations and like making the entry lounge a little more inviting. And then on the right hand side here, you can see where the staff work area has been extended to the east to create that drive-through space. They don't really currently have a break room space at all. They don't have any sort of space for families, nursing parents. And then we're also adding one single stall ADA restroom. Then the far south end, they're planning to expand the meeting room, basically doubling its size, which would allow them to comfortably host meetings as big as like a DAB. Any questions about the functional specs?
Yes, I believe. The room that says wellness, what is that?
Right now, that's intended to be basically a nursing parents room or a parents quiet room. We had debated, do we go ahead and add 2 new restrooms? By code, they don't need them. So right now and that's the location close to the children's area. Will be nice for a little parent quiet room or for a nursing parent. Questions? This is a view from the northwest, like we're standing basically on 9th Street. The existing entry drive is over here to your right. The existing structure, like I said, built in the 70s, like 74. It's all existing brick. It's like a blend of red, and then there's a couple iron spots in there. So that's what's represented here in the rendering, basically all one tone, like you perceive it as one tone of red. And then they've got this like gable in the middle with the diamond window. That when we get to the interiors, that is one that like you walk in and you just don't even see it because there's so like the lights are so low, like all of this cool vaulted ceiling is cut off. So that'll be a really big piece of the interiors that right now it's super obvious on the exterior. And so we're using that and sort of celebrating it again. Like there's been some renovations over time that have kind of put layers in to hide that. So everything we're doing on the interior and exterior is really like geared around celebrating kind of like the original form. So the addition here to the left is all in black. This is a dark iron spot brick that's really close to, like we had a brick supplier go out and pull. Here's all the 4 bricks that make up the blend of the existing exterior, and the black is one that's close, which I thought was really cool. That like iron spot was cool in the 70s, and now if you go like down to Delano and the baseball stadium, like that, the black iron spot is sort of back in. So it's really nice tie between what was there and then what's in style currently. This is a view from the northeast. We're going to plan to pick the red brick up again on the little bump out for the drive-through on the left. The little diamonds that you see at the bottom are, they open up into the children's area where we've got some seating nooks, like a cool place for you to kind of go hide as a kid. But again, picking up on the diamond form, celebrating that, but otherwise keeping basically all geometry super simple. And then here's the view from the southeast. The black portion, again, is the extension. It's the new addition. This is actually the extension of the conference room, which is why it doesn't have any windows. There's no windows on the existing conference room. Just new exit doors. We are going to have to relocate the trash enclosure. So that's what you're seeing here, kind of in the bottom left corner. And then again, this is the other side of the bump out towards the drive to serve the drive-through.
So for the interior and exterior materials palette that you can see here, since we're outside already, we'll talk a little bit about the exterior. Emily alluded to most of this already, but we have the existing brick blend that you can see there, pulling out the iron spot brick, including that also located. And then the existing windows are a dark anodized bronze. So a lot of our church color elemental doors will again replicate that. So just continuing a lot of what's already there. Celebrating that. On the interior, keeping a lot of the fixed finishes that are difficult to change going forward, more neutral. So we have neutral carpet throughout, but keeping it very textural and going back to kind of the mid-century that their building was originally trying to celebrate. So bringing a lot of that in through the palette. So you can see throughout the flooring, we'll have several tones of neutrals. It's all durable, solution dyed nylon, type 6.6 construction, so it will stand up well to crushing and traffic over time. And then using different tones to highlight. So you'll see throughout the field color is this tweed look that we have right here, and then meeting room pulling from that, but adding a little bit more pattern, and then again doing the same in the main kind of an A-frame gabled roof portion throughout there. When it comes to paints, we have a field paint and then several accent paints that will be used throughout. In the teen area specifically, we wanted to highlight that as this is a different area, this is a unique area. So we're bringing in blue carpet and paint in that area, and then as we work towards the art RFP, looking at how we can do vinyl graphics on the windows there to just really make that a unique teen area that feels like somewhere for them to hang out. If you look through the wall tile that we have in the toilet rooms, bringing in some main cut travertine look tile, and then that's our main field, and then a few accent, bringing in some color, but still somewhat neutral. And then throughout the casework, bringing in the walnut tones, there's quite a bit in there already, and balancing that with other metals throughout, and then this chamfered timber that we're going to use on the base of the front desk. Any questions about the interior or exterior finishes?
So the status of the project, we just submitted drawings for bidding and permitting a week ago, and that covers basically all the scope that we described today. We are I'll let you speak to the art RFP.
Yeah, so we are putting together an RFP. The intent is we'll plan to come back to your next design council meeting in August. We have identified and prioritized locations at all three branches. Issue the RFP will be for all three branches, so we're on Wichita and Alford. And when we come back in August, we will have that ready for you to review. And then once we incorporate any modifications after you all review it, we'll issue that out. And we will put that on a public platform, call for artists. What is it called? Shannon, is that correct? And so we will put that out there. And plan is to finalize artist selection and issue those contracts in mid-October.
The art coming, more information on the other two branches is coming.
So, and as of the August, we will present the preliminary, we'll be through design development at that point. So we'll present the preliminary design on Bravo and Angelo at that time.
So today, really just to talk about the building, and we're looking for your support of the general direction that we're headed. It's been a really cool process, both with, Jamie, the library leadership, and then all of the branch managers. They shaped this. So it's been really cool to go through all that with them. And today we're looking for your support. Take any more questions if you've got them.
All right, questions or comments for them?
I was trying to listen really hard, but I still couldn't understand. You said that you're gonna come back with a design at the next meeting, is that what?
At the next meeting will come, so right now we're working on the design for Angelo and Alfred, getting it to this point, getting those two branches to that point. So we'll come back with those designs for you in August, and then also the RFP for all three branches.
And what was mid-October?
That's, so after we incorporate any changes to the RFP, our plan is to issue that mid-August. Then go through that process, and by mid-October, the contract's ready to contract with artists for each of the three branches.
Got it.
Come back for two more buildings and art for all three.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
This one has the largest scope, so needed to get started the quickest.
Any other questions or comments? Today, we're basically looking for approval of the aesthetics of the exterior of the building. Your way to summarize that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, if you were looking for a motion today, I would move to recommend support of the aesthetics of the project as presented.
I'm assuming that all artistic elements will be inside, but doesn't have to be polluted. Who would address that when it comes in?
I will to approve the aesthetics portion as presented.
Second.
All right, motion from Ella to approve, second from Jeff Best. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Thank you.
Do we need to clarify between aesthetics and architectural design? No, you would prefer aesthetics.
You may. Both terms.
I guess it is architectural design, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, let me rescind my motion. Again, I would like to move to approve the architectural designs as submitted.
Thank you.
Thank y'all keeping us on point this round.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Still passes unanimously. That's good. That's good. All right, third item on the agenda today is revisiting Commerce Street improvement. So we've got Michael here in person. Elizabeth is online with us.
Yep, we'll be abstaining.
Jeff
Yeah.
stepping back.
I mean, it's shared, yeah, run it from here and and she's able to see it.
Morning, Michael Bailey, Drain Systems Project Manager for the concrete project. We once again bring this back to you. If you remember, we were here in October of last year where the final designs were approved. There were some updates and changes where Patrick's flies are no longer part of the project. Then we discussed with Janet and Lindsay and enhancing John and Megan's portions. So there were some changes to theirs. We're bringing those back to you today for approval of final design on their pieces. A quick slides a little bit out of order. We'll run down the schedule. A quick update on the schedule. Like I said, we were last year in August of 2023. The project did let in March of 2024, and construction has begun. If you said down there, little percent roll up on Atlas St. Francis at the schedule of construction is all St. Francis and the north third of Commerce is to be completed by March of 2025 for the opening of the NCAA tournament. So construction will be cleaned up and everything open then. And once the tournament is over, the contract will come back and complete the rest of the project. Under contract, they are to be completed with the entire project by October 25. So that is the current schedule of that. So the artist will and Elizabeth will be working with the contractor to install the art as the portions of the roadway are completed. That'll be an ongoing process. With that, I will turn it over to Elizabeth to walk through the variation of the locations, and then John and Megan will talk about their Elizabeth, yours.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
We'll stop. Now, what is this over?
So yeah, John and Megan have had the opportunity to expand their scope based on the removal of Patrick's projects, as Michael mentioned, and they've been given about $40,000 more to realize an expanded concept. The main idea, the electric chameleon idea, has remained consistent, but now there will be 4 different locations as opposed to the initial 2, and the projects have been bulked out further, I believe, with a more consistent sound art component, and they will talk about that when they come up to present. This is the proposed art projects. These are all of the projects. Eric Schmidt still has his 8 benches. Kent Williams still has his 1 sculpture at the top of Commerce Street. And John and Megan's pieces are represented by the blue dots or flares or sunshines or whatever they are. And if you could go to the next slide, it's just zoom in on those locations so you can see a little bit better where they will be exactly. And then we can move to the next slide or skip a couple. Project timeline. So I'll let John and Megan start here, but yeah, they can kind of walk through or remind you a little bit of what they were thinking initially and then expand upon how that idea has evolved since the first time you've seen it.
Hi, I'm John Harrison. This is Megan Miller. We appreciate the opportunity to expand our idea. We've expanded it to include 4 pieces. And the pieces kind of tell a story of a collision of different time periods that could not possibly collide. You know, ancient fossils from that are from nature along with man-made things from now. And that creates this fantastical story that is the point of our work. And in connecting with that, the past is largely defined by how we remember it, what our memories are, and that's always a distortion of what actually happened. And we're looking to capture that as well, especially in the interactivity and the oral part of it. So I'm going to first talk about 3 of the pieces. There are the 3 that are on my left that are shown right there, not that aqua or blue. Those 3 pieces are the ones that really focus on the passage of time. All the pieces are made of, we're incorporating meters and man-made things. The tallest piece is actually a traffic control box. The two to either side of it are gas meters. And along with that, we're using cast aluminum, some found objects, limestone, automotive paint, and 5 meters. So the passage of time and the way we understand it is a little bit of a man-made thing in terms of how we measure it. And these meters are going to actually measure time in the same ways that we understand time, with sort of a repeating pattern. And the traffic control box will do that orally, whereas the others actually do it with the meters themselves. And in terms of how the those three pieces are, you can kind of think of them as social beings. They are living and developing just like we do. And initially, and they represent that metaphorically through the sounds that they make. So initially, they don't really have a history with the space other than, you know, the infinite history, which is the sounds of ocean or wind or rain. And those are going to be the utterances that they offer at that time. But like social beings, they respond to what they're hearing, and they gradually start to incorporate the sounds of the environment around them. I'm going to use an AI engine to combine those sounds in a way that they're morphed to be unrecognizable from their original form, but all influenced by each other. So these social beings will also be communicating to each other. And in that way, the sounds will be constantly developing. So the fourth piece, the one on my right, we've been calling that the Rosetta Stone. That's the one that shows the mapping of the other three. And the other three interact with it in a way that it's kind of their parent or their god. You could think of it that way. We can talk more, that's the basic concept of it. We can talk more about the tech or about how they're going to be made, depending on what your interests are, or what your questions might be.
Questions, Matt?
So I'm just wrapping my head around this from a sound standpoint. You're gonna have speakers in these items.
Right.
Where you're gonna be controlled from.
So, and I've been working actually with Jeff Best and Steve Tucker on this. There's going to be a central computer that's actually not part of the 4 pieces. That's going to be located at the intersection of Commerce Street and Watermont. And that's going to be the central where all the processing happens. All the units are going to communicate to it using power line communication. So they're actually going to send data through the electrical lines, and Jeff Best and Steve Tucker were nice enough to work with me to make that a feasible way that they would communicate. There's going to be microphones and speakers in each of the units. We're actually anticipating 2 speakers in each unit. One would be an inductive speaker, which is a kind of speaker that you attach it to whatever you want, and that the medium that you've attached to is what vibrates instead of the speaker, which creates a really amazing kind of omnidirectional feel. But the tone quality of that is sometimes a little questionable. So we'll have a regular speaker in there too, and mix between the two to get the sounds right. Part of why I mentioned the metaphor of social animals is that they won't be too active. I don't want them to be disturbing to the environment when nobody's there. So, you know, they may make small utterances or things like that, but nothing that would be too loud or too disturbing. But then when people interact with it, it will come to life.
How do people interact with it? Is there a button that they push? What activates the recording?
I forgot to mention that, yeah, I would have motion sensors on it as well. There's actually these really nice sensors now that detect humans or detect organic animals over just motion. And I was planning to use those so that we don't get a whole bunch of garbage trucks that, you know, are just adding to the noise.
Concern is about privacy.
Mhm.
So it seems like well, not even seems like, I think people should consent to being recorded. Even if you're going to change the sound and morph it into something else. Just like when people call you and say, your call is being recorded for quality control. Or when you start a Zoom meeting, they say, this meeting is now being recorded. I think we need people's consent in order to report them, right? So if there's a way for the sound to be activated where it indicates consent, not just they're walking past in their bridal gown, but like they push a button or something that where they've given approval for you to use their sound.
Right. Yeah, I was hoping that if we were able to never actually store the sounds and immediately destruct the sounds and morph the sounds, that would allow us to, I mean, that we're not actually recording the sound. Does that make sense? I was hoping there might be a way to address it that way.
Well, it sounds like if I'm understanding your idea correctly, your artwork takes in what it hears in the environment and transforms those into a new sound. So that's the part. It's like both recording potentially people without their consent and then changing what they said into something else. Both of those things can potentially be a breach of privacy. Even if you make it something, they have no control over what you make it. See what I mean? So there should be some type of like consent, like I agree to you recording my voice or my sound. And that's what I'm saying, like
Probably just something simple as a button or
a
something.
button,
that they have to
something,
push.
yeah, something where they can agree to it instead of it's just, if you happen to be walking by, you don't really know that this thing is recording, the artwork is recording you and it's happening, you know what I mean, without your consent. That's the part. That's the part that could be a breach of privacy, is not having consent.
Couldn't you put up a sign that says,
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a way other than a button. I mean, we are recorded all the time, right? Like there's video cameras outside that are capturing. And I don't know if we've all agreed with consent that those video cameras can do all that. I was also wondering about like the gathering place. When I was there, I noticed that in the center of the gathering place, they had a sign. And I guess that covered them, where they felt like that did. I wonder if there's a way to address it. I feel like a button might hurt the piece artistically. Maybe there's another way. I get what you're saying. And I don't want people to feel like, that their privacy has been invaded in a way that they had no control. So I feel like that's a valid point.
There's statutes and, things about breach of privacy that you could review to make sure that we're staying within that, because it's gonna be if somebody was upset about it, like this is recording me without my consent, it's a public art project. So at some point it will belong to the city, right? So that's the reason why. And when you have cameras outside, those are like the government is using that. So that's a different type of thing. It's like for security, that's a different thing than what we're talking about here.
For them, we'll do a legal consult with the law department to make sure that we're not in breach of any legal standing.
That would be great.
I
Please do
From
that.
an artistic standpoint, it would be the artist's decision and this body's decision on what we would prefer to be required, but we can make sure it's in good legal standing.
That sounds good. Safety first.
All right, other questions, comments?
I have a question just about the materials used to build the boxes. Can you talk more about what that's gonna look like?
Sure. So the last time we were here, we talked about using a smooth-on epoxy product for the sculpting, and we're no longer using that. There were just a lot of doubts about the durability of that material. So the meters obviously will be existing meters. The electrical box is an existing structure already, a found object. And the additions that you see that represent the fossils will be made of cast aluminum and tightly adhere to the meters. And the surface is aluminum or automotive paint.
no resin or anything anymore, just aluminum and
No,
the
yeah.
found pieces.
And, natural limestone as well, the blue one. That's actually limestone that's on it. Of course, the scale will be different. And that can be carved to fit closely as well. Really attached.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, so how loud are these going to be in terms of, you've got Kellogg right there, you have a constant drop. I mean, are we gonna be able to hear it or?
So, yeah, some of them are very near, none of them are near Kellogg.
The project, so they're not gonna be near Kellogg, really.
Yeah, but you still,
I mean, I think ideally we'd like to work with the residents in the area, as the pieces are completed, to find the right volume for when they're inactive and when they're active. When they're inactive, I am imagining more of like almost a ongoing type of thing where they're hardly noticed. And then when they're active, yes, they need to be heard by the people that are around. And I think we can, I mean, the great thing about tech is that, a lot of tech is that you can maybe find adjustments like that at the very end of a project. So, you know, with a twist of a knob, we can find the right volumes for the pieces as they're completed.
I have one last question for me about just the longevity of the tech. And if that's, what have you guys talked about in regards to that part, maintenance, longevity, all of that?
Right, so, and that's a good question. I feel working with that, because it's a hard. I wanted to make sure I could answer that well. None of the tech will have any moving pieces, so no fans. We're using all industrial equipment. All the equipment is rated for rugged outdoor use. So, that's how we're addressing it with, that kind of equipment is very different than the home computer or laptop. And it changes the pricing too, but, there's one company in particular on Logic I've worked with before with things like this. Their products seem to deliver what they tell me they do. The library project that we did, there's an on-Logic computer running that. And, so I'm fairly confident with no moving parts. And, computers that are rated for, I think we're going for -20 Celsius to 70 Celsius. That we should be in good shape for that.
Pretty good writing.
Yeah.
I think Armando asked my question on the maintenance of it. Who's going to be responsible? You might explore sometimes the city on a beautification project will get the adjacent HOA to maintain the area, to do this. And our district would have somebody just keep an eye on it, but I can see that. Somebody watching it, we get 24 months down the road, so.
So upon completion, it would be our responsibility to maintain. And before it's completed, we'll get a maintenance plan from the artist, as we do with all projects, to maintain in perpetuity.
That's just what that technology piece is going to need a little more attention than. Any other questions or comments? For a motion?
Thank you for bringing the models.
Oh,
Sorry.
Thank you for bringing the models. The colors are more exciting in person than on the photos.
they were really fun to make. That, like, I 3D printed the scanned and 3D printed the meters, and then she did that magic of making those models from it. It was a lot of fun. So, just to review for a second, about the privacy thing. So, the next step with that, Lindsay, you're gonna be in touch with me maybe about the legal counsel, and we'll figure out from there what to do.
So we're looking for a motion today. The motion doesn't have to address the concern about that. Then if our motion does address the concern about people being recorded, then staff will make sure that's adhered to or bring it back if something goes wrong, but it can go on through as long as they meet the. Jeff is, for the record, abstaining on this one.
You can't rely on me to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. And we're looking for final approval. Okay, yeah, okay, just making sure.
Yes, final.
Michael's hoping he doesn't bring it. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll just make a motion to approve the designs with the caveat that, you know, that the privacy thing will be checked with legal department with the city. Just to,
And addressed accordingly.
yeah, whatever needs to happen.
Motion from Armando. Do we have a second? Second. Susan was first on the second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Welcome to grab those now if you like.
Yeah, great. Email on the screen. Wait. 2 weeks of having heard from you all.
I don't like how, like fears. Yeah. I want
About that, I'd probably get it again.
Are you? I'm gonna do it. Actually, I did a ride this morning, so.
I watched that. I did see that. That was funny. But other
Casper doesn't count as a ghost.
no.
All right, we're gonna move on to the fourth item on the agenda today, which is the approval of the CIP art funding recommendation for design council. Subcommittee got together in June and went through the CIP budget. What's laying in front of you today, and I think what we're looking to approve the budget for 2005. As we do this, kind of a little bit of pressure as we do this, we look at the next 10 years. Specifically, we look at the next 3 years on the budget, and if we see items that are going to need funding, we start discussing them. We often will put a number on something a year or two or 3 out. Then each year, when we review the budget, we can adjust. So if we made a recommendation for something in 26 or 27, then next year we can make an adjustment to that. We find more information out about the project. This particular budget for 2025, $8,399 over expected. Usually it's funding in there to cover thing like that from the last year, maybe stuff that didn't get used. So we are at a full budget and just a little bit over on the $1.8 million that we're trying to. That information's on the very back page. Shows the amount of funding we have with the 2% art funding and how much we've allocated. Here's listed. Anything else I should be, any more detail you want at this point in time on what we're doing?
Would you like a high level overview or a recap?
That would be good.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
And we should talk about the $200,000 too. For the
Right,
people
that's-
that weren't there.
That's what I was about to ask, the downtown better store.
Yeah. And there's a larger discussion there.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Or not discussion, but.
There's some background there that I'm happy to,
You were gonna do that for 25.
for 25. That's our goal for today, but would go to city council for recommendation. So we had a couple of unique opportunities going into the 25 budget is there were a couple projects from 2023 that did not happen. And we wanted to make sure that that money didn't evaporate, that we could reassign it. So in particular, Finley Ross Park and sort of downtown streets project that had funding attached to it. Those projects did not advance or move forward. We didn't want it to evaporate, so I'm working with the budget office. We reassign those monies to new projects. So that gave us with a unique opportunity. I don't remember the exact amounts for those, but to reassign some projects. So Riverbank Improvement Project is ahead of schedule from when we assigned the art funding last year. So we really wanted to get that money into the budget for 2025. So the art didn't fall behind and we can get artists paid in a timely manner. And then the opportunity with the downtown pedestals that were previously the Arts Council Sculpture Walkabout. When they sunset that program last year, that left us with about 14 vacant pedestals that need to be filled. We've sought private investment in terms of purchasing artwork and how do we fill those pedestals. Because of the uniqueness of that 2023 funding being available, we thought we could one and done it in the purchase of new sculptures to just fill those pedestals versus having a rotating art exhibit that we would need to seek funding for on a regular basis. So those are kind of the two projects that weren't initially in the budget that we think we can accommodate with shifting those 2023 funds over to 2025. I'm gonna look to my colleague to see if there's anything else high level that would be.
There were a number of projects that funds were moved from 26 to 25 to allow for design phase funding for art to be available in the year that design phase is happening. So that's kind of why we have this larger 1.8 million allocation in 25, because we did make a number of those adjustments.
We're looking to do that all the time.
Yes.
Trying to.
Going forward.
So when we do CIP, we will make sure we load the design money in there just to hire a consultant. We need to be doing that with the artists too, with our new program. So we're trying to unload and then you need to get art consultants with the design portion.
Maybe one other note that I'll make is that it's really 2025 funding that we're approving today or approval for. There's some cushion in 25 or 2026 funding should Finley Ross Park or other projects come up. There's always new projects every year that might be thrown in. So that gives us a cushion to accommodate those projects as they may arise. Outward, with the libraries recently remodeled, a handful of park facilities, including pools, we are seeing a decline in the just general amount of projects that would hit this body, which shifts the amount of money that we're usually entertaining. Police and fire stations are still in there, but with those major quality of life projects, kind of, we've closed up some giant chapters. We don't see one of those big chapters coming up right now in the immediate future. So the amount of funding that we have going into 26, 27 is a little bit lower than I think we've done in the last few years. Safe assessment.
You're good.
Correct?
Good. Yes.
Can you explain a little bit more about the pedestals? I mean, I remember from being on the art council, but what was happening there, but I want to understand, like, so you said this money is going to be used to just buy artwork that'll be permanent, won't be rotated. Okay.
Purchase new sculptures for our public art collection.
Okay.
We do want to do an assessment of the existing pedestals. So if there's some in unfavorable locations, there's a couple that staff don't recommend refilling, that we do that in this process.
What happened to the works that were there?
They were on loan and are on exhibit with the Arts Council.
Okay.
So the Arts Council sunsetted the program because they lacked funding in order to kind of recycle it or to re-contract those existing artists. A couple artists have opted to just keep them on display at their own personal cost. We've received one as a donation. One, the adjacent business purchased the work and has now loaned it to the city for display. So not every pedestal is vacant, but majority of them are. So we would like to use CIP funding to just purchase new artwork and fill those sculptures. So they would be in the collection just like the bronzes on Douglas are. They belong to the city.
Okay. That sounds good.
Purchase of artwork mean?
Sure how to answer that. We
Are
would.
you going to go through, are you going to hire an artist who will develop a custom piece of art?
So we would solicit, we would put out an RFP or some sort of call for artists to submit proposals, and we would entertain them. We would likely have a subcommittee of the design council, maybe with some community representatives, whole town association involved in the selection process of what we're going to purchase.
Maybe you're just gonna go shopping. I volunteer to go along.
We would love to do some strategic recruitment and encourage artists to apply. So if there's artists out there that you're like, hey, it'd be really cool if we could get one of those, encourage them to apply. We've had what we believe is success in the RFP and open call process, so we'd like to extend that further. We'd be looking at, with $200,000 budgeted, $10,000 to $14,000 of sculptures, kind of maybe what the budget could allow, including installation fees and other fees associated, but that's kind of the ballpark we're hitting. So this is a good early entry opportunity for potentially local artists who haven't been able to be engaged with our program yet to apply.
It will be just, your focus will be local artists, like, will it be like a criteria, you think?
I don't know that information yet.
It was way early.
Pretty early.
Like, ooh, it's awesome.
We do now have like our standard is we bring the call to this body to approve before it goes out. So once the funding's approved, that kind of gives us a green light to design the program. It's 2025 funding to get it rolling. We might phase it and do 5 now, 5 later, just kind of put the call out there and see what we get back. We've done a couple local calls where we really haven't had a lot of local interest necessarily or successful applications to where we've had to then expand it regional and national. I could anticipate that happening here too, just depending on what kind of results we get back. But we'll bring the formal call to this body for.
Okay. I didn't know this was a new thing to bring the RFP to the design council. That's pretty great. Okay.
Those are in the discussion when we had about, I think it was during street/lock-in, like, what is the mission, the vision for each location and the art?
Yeah.
To be able to get a chance to look at that before it goes down.
Okay. That was like written down.
I was just gonna say, my comment on that is, it seems like a good opportunity for the work that is happening with engaging local artists and understanding the RFP process. This is like a great opportunity for a smaller budget item for some of those artists that don't have that experience yet to engage with it.
I'm gonna lose Jeff at 11 today, so I'm gonna quest to be done before 11, if we can be done. Any other conversations on the funding? You want to muster up a motion on the funding?
I would move that we approve the funding as presented to design council by the subcommittee.
And to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the funding? Motion, I should say. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimously. So I see we have one item on the as may arise, maybe more than one.
I always have a
Extra little nugget. You always have an extra nugget.
real quick on term limits. We are still working with the mayor's office on filling some vacancies and working through some of our unique situations with council members who have extended their term limit. We've received about 10 or so applications to serve on the design council, and we're passing them along to the mayor's office. But we have not yet heard back from her intent to reappoint or make new appointments and what that timeline would look like. She has all the information. Encourage those in your fields or anyone you would recommend to the design council to go through the formal application process. You can send them to Janet and I can help get them out an application, but we've not yet heard back from the mayor's office. As soon as we do, we will let those council members who her decision would impact know. So no news other than we know a decision will be made at some point.
What are the vacancies right now?
Currently, the only vacancy is for an engineer to replace Greg Allison's seat.
a reminder, we're going to stagger terms. So somebody's going to get a 2-year term, somebody's going to get a 1-year term. We're all staggered professionally. Each year, an architect, each year, an engineer, you know, we're not.
11 members, 3 are currently past term limit. And then I think there's 4 or 5 of you that are in your final term now. So we're trying to figure out how do we plan for that to make sure that we still have a functioning body because the work continues no matter what. So we're seeking guidance from the mayor on how she would like to make this. But you're all still here as long as you show up. You still have to show up.
We can't leave. So
Karen.
off the boat. Off the boat first.
Everyone's being kicked off until further notice.
And I have one reminder.
Yes.
So I hope all of you saw my email announcing that Tesserae Lewis Reflection Park was selected by CodaWorks for their Coda Awards Top 100 Best Projects, Most Successful Projects internationally that integrate art into interiors, public spaces and architecture. So congratulations, Ella Bacchus and Matthew Mazzotto. People's Choice ends tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Please vote. Please encourage everyone you know to vote. They will award People's Choice to the top 2 projects. We are currently number 6 out of 100 on People's Choice, which isn't too bad.
We can taste it at number 6. Like we could get to number 2.
We'd love to get to number 2.
1 would be nice, but
Use all of your devices to vote.
It's all of them.
Phone,
You
laptop,
can clear.
computer, so yeah, you could get a couple extra votes if you use all your devices.
No.
Just telling you.
No, good. Good information.
What's the link?
It should be in the email I sent to everyone. Otherwise, you can just Google CodaWorks with an X, top 100. It'll come right up.
CODAWRX.
Okay.
Jana will send another email
I'll
out,
send another.
Okay.
urgent exclamation point and
I had a thing where it kept saying voted already. I sent it out. And when I said it's like text it to family members, they voted already. So I don't know. I emailed them like.
I think after you hit 100, they think they do catch you.
What? No, I mean, like, I sent it to new people who hadn't voted and it said voted. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know. I would try somebody who hasn't voted, maybe if you go on the city site or one of those others on City's Facebook page. If it says voted,
I'm skeptical of the link too for
It's
what it's worth.
it's problematic, yeah.
Because I've voted a handful of times now because I've been checking it and then like every now and again I'll say like, you can still, vote. Like, I know I voted. So I don't know. I think it's on their websites.
okay.
But you can vote on browser. Like if you're on like an Edge and a Google. That's in my experience. So vote however you can. And vote often.
That's it. Janet, you're good. All right, anything else? If not, then we will call the recess the design council at 10:55.
Excellent.
100.
Thank you.
For you.
I need to help you.
You got 53 inches.
Man, that sounds good. Everybody get on your phone, take out your phone right now, guys. That's a good plan. Everybody
Just did it, sister.
I need to send my last people.
Be more specific about that question.
I don't know your family.
Brothers and sisters, there are.
I mean, it's everyone else.